Guys, I am so excited for today. Let me just show you. See that? That is the wind. Red, red, orange, orange, orange means extreme wind. We got anywhere from 18 to 25 knots. Why is that significant? Because I get to go kite surfing today. Woo! To go kite surfing, the stars need to align. Everything needs to come together. You need good weather, not like raining, and you need wind. And Utah is amazing because you have many places to go kite surfing, but it's not always windy or it's not consistent. I've never kited at this place. I've been to it and it looks really cool, but I've never actually kited there, but I've heard it's consistent wind. And as you can see, 18 to 25 knots with 35 gust winds, that's scary. The wind is going crazy right now, so I'm very excited and I'm very, very nervous as always. But man, go kite! Just got here. We're at it is windy. This is gonna be an gnarly day. Yeah, we got another kiter here, a guy named Andy, so I feel a little safer. And apparently the water is really shallow for a while, so I can walk out there and be much safer. I will say I'm super nervous and definitely feel like, I gotta pee all the time because I'm nervous. But it makes me feel like I'm living life. That's why I love this sport. I took this drone footage the day after the kiting ordeal because on the day of, the wind would have knocked my drone out of the sky. I knew that the wind was very strong, but I was equipped with the proper kite size. I've drawn the wind direction here for your visual reference. My initial plan was to tack upwind towards the middle of the lake, and then tack upwind back so I could get further upwind than the actual beach. Unfortunately, that's not how things went. Here was my first huge mistake. As you can see here, my feet are barely in the bindings. What happened was I didn't loosen the bindings enough to allow my booties to fit inside of them. This left my feet barely in them, so my legs had no control of the board. On these very first few runs, I've already started gaining distance from the beach as I progressed much further into the middle of the lake. The water was extremely deep, but I had my impact vest on so I wouldn't sink. As you can see here, I keep trying to put my feet in the bindings a little better, but it was all in vain. I realized at that point that even though I had ridden upwind several times and understood body position, it still wasn't enough. A massive amount of shame hit me as I struggled and put myself into a more dangerous situation. All the times I did ride upwind, it was in a very safe environment with a coach nearby. This was my first time on my own, in a new location with high winds, choppy water, and bindings that I couldn't fit my feet into. Let's just say I felt very stupid while trying my hardest to kite properly. I was getting pushed further and further downwind away from the beach while being in the middle of the lake. I had plenty of wind to correct my mistakes, but with my inexperience and poor planning, I set myself up for a very dangerous situation. Right as I thought, you know what, maybe it's time to head back to the coastline, even if I was downwind from the beach. Something even worse happened that made things way more difficult. I lost my board. As you can see here, this is the moment after falling face first that my board popped off of my feet. This only happened to me once before, but at that time my coach was watching me. Now I was completely on my own and had to figure this out. For people who don't know about kiting, when this happens, we can body drag upwind and control where we want to go even without the board. It's what keeps kiters safe. At this point in time, my board was further upwind than myself. I started to try to body drag towards my board, but for the life of me, I wasn't going upwind at all. Later on did I realize I was body dragging completely wrong. I had not had enough practice to be able to go upwind properly. Deep down, I was terrified. This was pretty much my worst nightmare unfolding before me. I did one thing that probably is what helped me through this ordeal, and that was, I kept my cool. As you can see here, the board is getting further and further away from me as I'm drifting much faster downwind than my board. Things take a turn for the worse, as this is the last time I actually can find my board.
Fuck!
There were moments that crossed my mind where I was possibly losing hope and that I'd have to ditch my board. My board cost me $450, and this was my first time ever using it. I quickly took a note of my energy levels and realized if I was getting too tired, it would be a very dangerous situation. But I did have enough energy to keep looking for my board, so I decided not to give up. I had to find it.
Oh, there you are. Yes. I saw you.
I could see my board, and that gave me a huge whirlwind of hope. I kept a mental check of where it was and continued to try and body drag left and right until I could get it. If I had my eyes on it, I knew I was going to get it.
Yes. So far. God damn it. I want to get that board back. Oh, there you are. Okay, you're far away, man. It's over there. I'm going too far. Yes! Come on, we can get this. Just stay right there. I'll fucking swim to you. It's right there. So close. Yes! Oh my god!
now that I achieved my board back, it was time to get the hell out of Dodge. I decided to get to the coast as fast as possible where my next challenge awaited me. Just to show you, this is where I started, and this is where I ended up, approximately 1 mile away from where I began. To land a kite by yourself, you need to do what they call flagging your kite out. This is where you release the quick release to release all the tension in the kite. From then, you need to quickly wrap your lines up properly and get to your kite as fast as possible, so it doesn't pick up in the wind and get dangerous. You also have to make sure the lines in the water don't wrap around your body and drag you around, or worse, under the water. I understood the process, but I had never practiced this firsthand. Was this stupid? Yes, absolutely, I fully admit it. But where there's trouble, there is an opportunity to learn. This was my moment of learning. I didn't wrap the lines fast enough or in a good fashion, which will bring me trouble later on when I try untangling them. After a failed attempt at wrapping my lines up properly, I let the wind blow myself and the kite to the shoreline to make it easier for me to wrap. The problem with this is your kite may get cut open by any of the rocks or debris on the coast. Luckily, none of that happened for me, but again, this was another huge learning lesson. I'm not gonna lie, I was completely winded after this situation. I was just super happy to be back on land and safe. At this point, it was time to wrap up my kite and gather all my gear and do my very first walk of shame back to the starting point. It was a long mile carrying all my stuff, and as embarrassing as it was, I was happy about a few things. First, after this day, I realized that even though there are kiters around, I am completely on my own. When I'm stuck out in the middle, there's nothing they can do to help me, so I'll have to figure it out no matter what. I was super stoked that when the shit hit the fan and I lost my board, I was able to keep control of my emotions and problem solve. And in the end, I got my board back. I felt way more confident after this time. I realized that I am able to get out of a situation with a cool head as long as I trust in what I've learned. This event did completely humble me and made me realize I really need to train a lot more in much safer conditions. But having put myself in this situation, it was essentially a crash course on what not to do, but how to get out of it. For this, I am proud of myself. I have more confidence and I know where I lack in skills and abilities. So, I guess this is called growth.
These booties hurt. They're not meant for walking on rocks. That's what you get. At least I tried, and at least I got my board back. Well, I just finished my walk of shame. Pretty tired, but I'm gonna go back out there. Some of the guys were just giving me tips because they were watching me, which is awesome. It makes me feel a bit safer. But now I know I need to go quite a bit more upwind to practice, and I gotta practice my basics a little bit more.
There were a lot more kiters now that I was back at the beach, and they were all very experienced. Quite a few of them gave me some stellar tips and understood the ordeal I went through because they've been through similar times themselves. It made me feel better, even though I was still disappointed in myself. I appreciate the kiting crew at Salt Lake City because they are all rad dudes. I did end up going back out on the water, but in a much safer fashion this time, and I was being coached by a legend named Spencer. Thank you, Spencer, for all your help.
Oh, that was a crazy day of kiting. I'm very proud of myself because I put myself in a situation that was a little bit dangerous, as you guys saw, and I got blown far downwind. So this is my first time sort of on my own without a coach, and even I felt safe that there were other people here, but I would come to realize a few things. One is that you're on your own and you got to figure out how to deal with your problems. And two is to stay calm. And I did both of those today, so I'm proud of myself. Stayed calm, and I had to untangle wires and it took a long time, but you know, I learned my lesson. I made a lot of mistakes today, but at least I came back in one piece. I got my board back. I got back safely with all my gear. It was a long walk, but that's a small problem. That's like nothing. It's just a walk of shame. I'm just happy that everything went relatively smoothly. I definitely tried my best. I definitely have a long way to go. So that's the beauty of it.